This is an open letter to the Secretary of the VA, CC President Obama. Dear Secretary Shinseki, my great-grandfather served in World War I, my grandfathers in World War II, my father in Vietnam, and my brother and I both graduated West Point and served this country honorably. These great United States of America depend on families like mine to defend this Constitution and our freedom. But I can no longer, in good conscience, allow that line of service to continue when it comes a time for my son or daughter to serve this country. For I know that the government cannot reciprocate the loyalty, the sacrifice, or the service. It can take life, limb, sanity, and soul. But when a veteran is used up and injured, we get dumped into the VA system as a number to be counted by doctors who are punching a clock, our service and sacrifice long forgotten, our wounds a burdensome byproduct that must somehow be swept underneath the rug. 18 years ago, I injured my hip and back on an airborne jump, was medically discharged and thrown into the VA system. I was 22 years old, and I've spent every second of every day since then in pain, being passed from doctor to doctor, all of whom seem very well trained to use the words, "There is nothing I can do for you." I am convinced that somewhere in the handbook on how to care for a veteran, the VA has boldly printed this policy. When in doubt, bounce the veteran from doctor to doctor, ply him with bills, provide him with no answers and hope that he just gives up or commits suicide. There is a reason that 22 veterans a day are committing suicide. The VA is not holding up its end of the bargain. A bargain made on behalf of a nation whose democracy rests solidly on the backs of its all-volunteer armed forces. We, the volunteers, agreed to protect and defend this country at all costs. And the VA is supposed to have our backs when we get injured in the line of duty. I know you did not create this system, but as the man at the top, it is your duty to fulfill the VA's end of the bargain. As a soldier, I know you know the common creed that we will leave no man behind, but the VA is leaving every man behind. I see it every time I walk into the West Los Angeles facility. It's etched on the faces of our veterans, the frustration of your failure, the pain of their untended wounds, the anger of being ignored. You know, a fine officer once told me to know your history. Well, history tells me that Calvin Coolidge said, "A nation who forgets its defenders will soon itself be forgotten." The VA, though built solely for our defenders, is miraculously somehow forgetting its defenders. The first time I walked through the doors of the West Los Angeles VA, after having spent 18 hours writhing on the floor in pain, unable to walk, I waited for 8 hours, only to be given a prescription of Tylenol, and that ubiquitous response of, "There's nothing I could do for you, you just have to live with the pain." When I was sent to physical therapy, I was given a heating pad and then sent home. When I complained of the rapidly growing pain in my hip, the doctor looked at me and said, "Do some stretches." I since had to spend thousands of dollars out of my own pocket to learn that I had a torn psoas, a torn labrum, and a severely degenerated hip joint that was caused by the airborne injury. I am full of these facts, Mr. Secretary, like the fact that it took 12 years for me to get anything other than Tylenol from the VA. When I was finally prescribed Vicodin to ease my ever-growing pain, I was grateful for the relief because I had given up on finding any other solutions. But as a man who wants to be a part of productive society, I grew wearisome of popping these unhealthy pills So I went to my doctor and I asked if there was any other solutions. And he looked at me and said, I cannot consider any other options until you are taking your full dosage of Vicodin. I asked what that dosage is, given the fact I was taking one per day. And he said, 3 pills a day for the next 90 days. And I looked at him and I asked, so you want me to get addicted to something that's unhealthy for me before you'll consider another option? He just nodded and simply said yes, an answer that seems appalling to most anyone, yet fits into the VA's unwritten mantra of get the veteran to give up. I did so for a while until my back went out again, but this time for longer than normal. For 6 days I was unable to walk, relying on people to feed me and to periodically empty the vase of my urine that I had to fill by leaning off the side of the bed. So I reinvigorated my effort to find answers. But I had to do so outside of the VA. The problem is, I ran out of money, and I had to return to the VA system, where neither the knowledge nor the capabilities of the outside world seemed to exist. Instead of the eagerness to heal me, I get the orthopedic surgeon who acknowledges that my hip would be worthy of replacement if I were 60 years old. But I am too young. I am too young? I am too young to be alleviated of this pain that I've carried around for 18 years? Because the VA might incur more costs in 20 years when that replacement goes bad. Pain has ruled my life and destroyed my spirit and sent me into bouts of depression that require every ounce of faith to rise from. The faith that the VA may one day do something. That faith has waned into the territory of pure fiction. Your West VA facility proudly displays a sign that brags 65% of our nation's doctors have trained at VA hospitals. Well, it is obvious from the level of care that that statement is true. But why must you so insultingly flaunt that we veterans are nothing more than guinea pigs for fresh-faced medical students? Why must you flaunt that you have so little respect for our sacrifice and our service that you are not willing to pay top doctors in this nation? How about this sign, Mr. Secretary? 65% of our doctors are the best at what they do. Solutions exist for us veterans, just not within the VA system. I guarantee if I were Kobe Bryant or Peyton Manning, I would have been back on that battlefield years ago, because they are valued by their team. Their teams cannot win without them, but we veterans are replaceable. But I'll tell you, as these tales get told, and as we veterans suffer through this VA system, our children will not be there to replace us. Do you think that when that inevitable time comes to fight another war, maybe on our own soil, that the Kobes and the Peytons of this world will be there to take up arms? I hope so. I'm exhausted by my journey at the VA, but it's not I that I care about most. I did not see combat. I care about the young soldier returning from Afghanistan who is pacing and mumbling to himself as he goes on the 4th hour of waiting to be seen. I am heartbroken for the wheelchair-bound Korean War veteran who is being ignored by the 2 VA employees who are behind the desk laughing about their weekend as the line of veterans waiting to be seen grows by the second. But most of all, I care about what will become of this country and our freedoms when veterans like me, who come from a long line of service, will cease to allow that line to continue. The dangerous die of incompetence, inaction, and ignorance has been cast in the VAs across this country. And as a result, we will no longer have capable men and women willing to sign on that dotted line to give life and limb to defend our Constitution. Because if that life is not given on the battlefield, it will be given in a more excruciating, drawn-out manner in the halls of the VA hospital.